Hello and welcome to Let's Talk About It with Taylor and Nolan. I'm your host, and today we're missing co-host Kit Bender, but have a special guest here visiting Seattle. Welcome to the show, Brandi.
Hey guys, I'm stepping in.
Yeah, stepping in. You're here visiting Olivia in Seattle.
Yeah.
You guys are like adorable besties.
Oh,
like
thanks.
besties goals over in Nashville, and now she's here.
She moved, I know, and I haven't seen her since like well before the move because I was traveling so much when she made the decision to come here. And she literally like within I think like 10 days time got her new job, came home, packed up her stuff, and drove across the country all before I could even get home.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since we've seen each other, and I've been meaning to come out here, and I'm happy to be here in the cooler weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The super cool Pacific Northwest.
That's so cool out here. I love it.
I feel like I try to turn everyone into like just major like PNW lover anytime anyone comes and visits. But then I'm also like, wait, there's too many people moving here. So like,
don't move here though.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, I need to actually stop talking about how wonderful it is because there's just a lot of people here now.
I know. But I feel like overall people really love the Pacific Northwest. Yeah. And like everybody that visits thinks it's so rad. So
no, definitely. And we're going to do some fun things while you're here for sure.
Yeah.
And starting off, I mean, this is your first day here, and hit a little local spot for some good breakfast, but now gonna talk about some things.
Some
fun things.
This will be a stark contrast to the ones that Olivia and I do because they're like so ridiculous.
Yes. Well, and you have a podcast that you do with Wells.
I do. And we've been on hiatus, so I've been missing the podcast life desperately. Yeah. I'm going to start making my rounds.
You'll get a good little taste of it here with me and Liv. And yeah, on your guys' pod, you guys talk about like your favorite things, and it's like good, very like entertaining conversations.
Yeah, it's just like light and fun. I always say like when people ask what it is, I'm like, we literally just shoot the shit. Like it's nothing fancy at all. It's just hanging out with Wells and I.
Yeah, no, it's a fun time. I was on it a while ago and it was fun. And so this is just going to be a very different pod for you. I don't know if you've like publicly ever talked about like your own personal growth or like the things that you've struggled with, kind of like we're going to talk about here today. But
no, not often, that's for sure. But happy to do it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, vulnerability is always super fun to talk about.
Super fun. Yeah, the best thing ever.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you being open to like discuss some of these things because it can always be uncomfortable at first, but I think it can be like therapeutic and healing in the process just for you, but then also like to help educate others and, you know, to know that you're also like helping other people not feel as alone. That Lily.
Scared me. I was like, what was that?
Lily's just spazzing out.
She's like behind me. I couldn't see it, but I heard it.
And the last episode with Kit, we were recording and she was jumping up on my counter, which she usually doesn't ever do, but she was just dying for some attention and was jumping up on our chairs and trying to get us to give her love.
Like, pay attention to me.
Yeah. And then literally I looked up, she was up on the top of my fridge.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh my God.
Like, okay, we see you.
Yeah, I give you so much attention, Lil. Like, stop.
We did just play with her and the laser light pointer for like 20 solid minutes. Yeah. I think she's good.
This is what makes me think like maybe she does need, you know, a second for a baby back. Maybe she really misses Theo. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. But yeah, she'll keep making fun noises throughout the episode. So, you know, I like to think that there's a lot of cat lovers that listen.
I have a feeling that's a yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys for the cat support. Everyone actually was super supportive on Instagram when everything happened with Theo. And apparently everyone wants me to post more cat stuff. So I'm going to work on that.
Dude, yeah, cat videos are like the most popular thing on YouTube. What are you doing with your life? Why are you not posting more cat videos? I
mean, literally, my whole Instagram feed used to just be cats and food. Like, literally all my fosters and everything. So,
now, you know, Instagram has IGTV. Did you see this update yesterday?
I did, and I had no idea what it was. I was like, what is this Instagram TV?
I was blindsided by it. I hadn't heard about it. But so, basically, it's kind of like everybody has their own YouTube channel, basically, on their Instagram account now. So, you can literally have a cat channel on your own Instagram. I think you should do it. Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
I know. I told Olivia, like, this is the time, like, this is the perfect time for IGTV to come out so that Paris and Nicole can finally have their moment.
Oh my gosh.
And so we'll probably, like, film some content this weekend, but, like, it's the perfect op for you to have a cat channel.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah.
Wow. My own cat channel on Instagram. Oh my God, I love it. But no, Kit and I, we always talk about like how we're basically cats, you know, like I feel like cats of all other animals are like very in touch with themselves and in tune with people as well. And like, they're a bit of introverted extroverts, you know, like they'll come out and be really social when they want to, like they like affection on their terms.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I'm a cat.
Yeah, I can relate.
I'm a cat.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I'm watching her. She's like, she's gonna try and scratch the couch or do something obnoxious, but that's okay. I still love her.
She's too cute. She can do what she wants.
Yep. And I like to think that's what people. Oh, is she chasing her tail now?
Chasing something.
Yeah, she'll randomly like chase her tail. She acts like she's a kitten. That's so funny. She's entertaining. Now, this is why I need to have the Instagram TV channel instead of a podcast because both. But if you guys could see what I see while recording. You should just
set a camera on her during your podcast, and then that can be people can watch your podcast but hear you but watch the cat. Yeah, I like it.
Can I do some like business rearranging here in my plans? My business plan. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I've talked a little bit with Liv about this, I don't think she's actually talked about it on the pod yet, but we've talked about like dating and like processing, you know, our own kind of like internal workings and specifically our struggles with being vulnerable. And I'm curious for you what it's been like, you know, you live in Nashville, like how you kind of experience dating there in terms of like being vulnerable. Like, do you feel like you do a good job at like opening yourself up and like being vulnerable with people? Like, how does that work for you?
Well, if you want to get deep right off the bat, Taylor.
I'm bad at the small talk stuff. I'm like, let's talk about
this
vulnerability.
Is great. And this is like, you caught me at a good time with this podcast because I've spent the last couple of months really doing a lot of like internal spiritual growth and like self-awareness.
Okay. And how would you say you've been doing that?
Just spending a lot of time really like allowing myself to like think about my thoughts, not keeping myself so busy.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of reading. I love to read, and that's one way that I can reflect on how I feel.
Yeah.
But all that to say, I've come to the conclusion that I do a really good job of making people think that I'm really vulnerable. And the way I do that is because I'm as authentic as it gets. Like, I don't pretend to be someone different. I don't pretend anything, but I do a good job of not volunteering my feelings. I don't know. I'm good at evading, like, having to be vulnerable. And especially because I like to listen and I like to be there for other people. And I feel like most of the people in my life need somebody like that so that it kind of like, I get away with not talking about my feelings because I'm constantly hearing about theirs. And that's kind of the way I like it. You know what I mean? So I don't know that any of my friends would be like, oh yeah, Brandi's not vulnerable. But I think like, I don't think I am because I don't think I go very deep with people. Like, you're open, but not actually about your feelings. Yeah.
Or about I just things like, that are really real for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And if someone asks me tough questions, I don't not respond, you know, like I'm never going to like lie or not talk about it, but I definitely have to be like probed in order to like get deep. Yeah.
Do you feel like you have people in your life that will help you in that process, that will like probe you? Like, do you feel like you have that support?
You know, I think now that because I've started to be a little bit more vocal about how I want to be that way. I think probably I'm like a pretty strong personality type too. And I feel like people probably like, I don't know, like kind of like think they're probing me, but won't be that forceful about it. And so they just kind of like leave me alone. You know what I mean? But I think now that I'm being more vocal about like, hey, I want to get better about talking about my feelings. Like, hey, I want to be more vulnerable with you. I want it, whatever. And then now I think people will like try to get that out of me now that they know like I'm ready to go there.
Yeah.
But I think it's just easy to like leave somebody alone when they want to be left alone. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, and I think, that's a great step to actually be communicating that to the people in your life so that they know, that's kind of the thing that you're working on, and B, also that they know that they can like be there to support you in that. Because if we don't communicate it to other people, like they're not just going to know, we can't expect people to be able to be there for us like that if they don't know what's actually going on and like what we're actually going through. How did all of this kind of start for you? Like, how would you say you kind of came to this like realization?
A couple of ways. I think that I stay pretty busy with work and traveling, and usually I get enough off time at home to kind of balance it out to where I never really like run on fumes. But kind of like towards May, like being in May, I was starting to really run on fumes, and so it was starting to like break me down a little bit. So I think that kind of got me to like a more emotionally vulnerable place because I was so tired and exhausted.
And are like, our shields and stuff kind of come down a little bit just because we are so exhausted and we're just like being a little bit more open because you're just kind of like, I'm tired.
Totally. But then I think too, like it's been a really long time since I've been in a relationship. It's been really 4 years, maybe even a little bit longer since I really was in like an actual like relationship. And it's been 3 years since I've seen anybody at all. And recently, I guess like really the beginning of this year, I started to like have feelings for somebody that I'm also friends with. And it was the first time that I felt that way in a really long time. And at first I was so frustrated because I felt like I wasn't, I was playing like too hard to get. Like I tend to play it really cool. And I think I started playing it too cool. And then I started to really beat myself up over that. And I don't know, like I just got to a point where I was like, all right, this is a me problem. Like I probably could have had that if I'd been more vocal and upfront about it. And if I don't learn how to do that, like I'm going to just be alone, and that's fine. Like I can be alone. And I truly believe like if I was going to be alone my whole life that I would be just fine and I would be happy and it would be great. But if I do want to meet somebody and be in a relationship, like there's a lot of things I need to fix. And I just like took going through that, to kind of come to that conclusion, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's good too, to make the distinction that like, it's not necessarily that you need someone in your life, but that like you're at a point where you're like, yeah, no, I actually do want that, that would benefit my life. And I would feel, a little bit more fulfilled in my life to be able to accept that kind of connection in my life.
I mean, I think there's pros and cons to both, honestly. Like I'm very, like black and white about that, as in like I think you can find happiness on your own. I don't think marriage and that is for everybody. And I think if you choose to be alone, that there's a way for your life to be just as happy, but on your own. I really do. But yeah, if you get to a point where like, I do want to be with somebody, there's pros to that as well. And if I do ever get to that place, like I want to be ready for it and not in a position where I was this last year where I wasn't emotionally available at all to the other person,
And why do you think that is?
I'm just not a very emotional person in general. I never have been. Like I'm not a crier. I don't cry when I watch movies or TV. Like even when something moves me, I still don't cry about it. I've just never kind of been like that. And we could probably talk for hours about why. I'm the oldest of 5. I've always had to be the responsible one. In my friend group, in my family, just kind of in every aspect of my life, I've always had to be the strong person, and I'm the person people turn to be the one that's got it together. And that's just kind of been my role my whole life. So it's kind of molded me into this person that, but I can't cry about my feelings because everybody else is crying about theirs. And I need to be the one person that can have it together so that other people can think they can have it together. You know what I mean? So I've kind of like molded myself into this. I've allowed this to be who I am, and I'm okay with that. But I also want to have a healthy balance,
Yeah.
Like I don't need to cry all the time, but I do need to, I think I've been reading a lot, and we'll talk about the Enneagram stuff later, but it kind of goes into that where part of my like Enneagram number is I'm like the peacekeeper, and the peacekeeper feels guilty for having feelings because those feelings will either positively or negatively affect somebody. And like the 9 kind of feels like they need to just not be an affected thing at all. Like you just kind of need to be like middle
You're
ground.
just one
you know
that's
what
like
I mean?
going to be there for other people, not that other people are going to have to deal in whatever way, positive or negative, with what you're experiencing.
Yeah. So if I'm angry, like I just don't say it. I just like kind of let it go. And and it's interesting, like even in past relationships, if like I've had a fight with somebody, like I definitely like argue and definitely will fight, but the minute it's over, like I'm done with it.
Yeah.
And I've had so many relationships where the guy just wants to keep bringing it up and keep apologizing and keep making sure it's okay. And that makes me so angry because I'm like, I'm done with it. And you bringing it up is making me angrier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like maybe it's unhealthy that I don't really work through something and I just say it's fine and just move on.
Yeah. Well, because it's interesting, you know, to hear you say, I'm not an emotional person. I'm not an emotional person. And I think we're all human and we all have emotions. And I think the difference between being an emotional person and not is actually just allowing yourself to experience your emotions. And, you know, I think that probably did play a huge role, like you said, in your past relationships of like dealing with conflict, of feeling like, you know, you would just kind of want to like let things go. And one thing that one of my close girlfriends has brought up to me recently is this mantra that she has for herself, where if she's in a situation or dealing with a conflict, she'll ask herself, what do I at least owe to myself? And she'll say like, I owe it to myself to blank, blank, blank. And I think it's kind of making me think of, you know, what you're saying of like, I feel like you owe it to yourself to be able to experience those emotions. And you owe it to yourself to like be a fucking person.
And it doesn't have to be a negative emotion. You know what I mean? Like when I really get honest about it, it's weird. Like in a weird way, I feel guilty for even liking somebody, like for even having like positive feelings for somebody. And I don't know why. I don't know. Like I'm still like kind of going through figuring out where that comes from.
Well, that's almost like with being the peacekeeper in a way, and also, you know, like you said, being kind of like a figure for people in your family and being the oldest and kind of taking care of other people, that the attention isn't on you. You know,
your attention actually, like I hate it. It actually makes me feel really awkward and uncomfortable.
Yeah. And so it's like even just the attention of you having a life and what's going on in your life could even be something that you're like, oh, no, don't worry. I'm fine. Like I'm dealing with it. Like it's just, you don't have to worry about it. I don't want to put that on you. But like you kind of owe it to yourself to let people to get to know you in that way, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because then people, I mean, I've shared this in the past, and I did a speech where I kind of spoke about it, where in grad school I had a moment with a guy, and he said in this like group counseling course, he's like, you know, you do a really good job of like getting to know people, and like you think you let people in, but you really don't. And I was like, he doesn't even know what he's talking about. Like he doesn't even know me. And I was like, oh, that's what
that's
his point.
What he said is he doesn't really know me. Yeah.
And like the fears that come up with being like, okay, I am actually gonna allow the space, whether it's in this relationship or just in this interaction with someone, to open myself up and to let that be seen. And I can imagine where that would be difficult with you now, learning more about like the Enneagram and, you know, being a peacekeeper and what that means for you, in a way, that attention being on you.
Right. Yeah. It's tough. Yeah. And it's funny too, like something I read, I think it was one of the books about the Enneagram, is it was saying like a lot of times, like as a 9, like you don't voice your feelings because you don't like want to rock the boat, or you don't like want to cause any kind of conflict or anything. But a lot of times the person you're, you know, not having the conflict with would rather you show some type of negative feeling than nothing at all. They just want some kind of emotion out of you so that you care, to know that you care. And I feel like a lot of people would probably think I'm very apathetic about things, even though I'm not, but just because I don't talk about things. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I've dated a lot of musicians, and one of them was like, I really just feel like you don't support my music at all. You just don't like it. You just don't care about it. And it's like, I feel like I've never not been supportive. I've shown up to every show. I've listened to every song. I've whatever. But, I'm also not sitting there like feeding his ego and telling him how great it is every second of the day. It's just not like my style at all. And that doesn't mean I don't love it. You know, I'm just not like very vocal about as much as things. And you can even, like, I even go into like love languages things too. Like when it comes to that, like words of affirmation are just not, it's the bottom of my love language list, you know? So it's just, I don't know. I really feel like as I get older, like it's a lot of like recognizing what other people's love languages are, recognizing how other people process things, and learning how to meet them in the middle on that. You know what I mean? And if we're aware of, like, if I'm aware of yours and you're aware of mine, then that's just going to make our relationship better. It like takes two to tango, I guess. But
absolutely,
at least like if I can make the first move in that, and like the people that meet me in the middle are going to be the ones where my relationships with them flourish. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Where do you think like you learned some of those messages, or like why do you think that the words of affirmations is at the bottom, like, and what's at the top? Where do you think that kind of stemmed from?
My top love language is acts of service. Okay. So like I really love to like do things for people. Like I'd love, like if I'm in a relationship, I love to do my boyfriend's laundry. Don't know why. I just like to do it. Or like organize his closet. Like I love doing that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because to me, like in my mind, like it takes time to do those things. And to me, time is your most valuable possession. And if you spend your time on it, like then to me, like that means you really love it. I think it's really easy to say words and not mean them, but it's another thing entirely to like voluntarily take your time to like show somebody you care. Yeah. So, and
I think in a way too, that's like being of service, you're being helpful, you know, and it sounds like with being the oldest of 5, you know, that you probably had to do a lot of things where like you were being very helpful and you were in a way being a caretaker. But I imagine that was almost at times maybe more of like a logistical caretaker than an emotional caretaker. And I think there's a lot to be said about the love languages, and, you know, I don't mean this exclusively or that it's black and white, but at times I think some of them, depending on what you're doing, involve a little bit more vulnerability. And like maybe whereas something as words of affirmations, which, you know, certainly behaviors can back up your words way more, but perhaps even just that vulnerability of actually expressing those words of affirmation could be something that's like uncomfortable, or maybe you didn't like grow up receiving and didn't know how to like trust.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's all hitting home.
Yeah. And I guess I'm curious for you how you go about, I mean, you're someone who's also, I mean, more than me in like kind of a public eye, and how you deal with vulnerability in that part of your life. Yeah. Like I know that's something I battle with all the time, of like, you know, how I want to live the most authentic life I can, and want to, you know, embrace being vulnerable when I feel like it's appropriate, you know, but then also being a public person and having kind of some more personal things about your life be public. It makes it a little bit more difficult to balance. Like,
no, it absolutely does. It is hard. It's weird. Like it comes second nature to me to quote unquote like be in the public eye, because it's literally all I've known. Like I know you're a little bit younger than me, but like my dad was huge. Like he was a huge star in the 90s. Like ever since I was 5 years old, my dad's just been super famous. And then when I got to, you know, college, like then my sister was super famous. So I just haven't really known anything different.
True. Yeah. So I didn't even think of that. Yeah, like you really grew up with that.
It like doesn't feel weird to me to be in the public eye, because I always have been, and I've always had to deal with it in some capacity. And I am the same. Like it is so important to me to be authentic and to be who I am, and, you know, and not pretend to be something else and all that. But I do think like there's some things that like I don't think if you don't have some privacy and some boundaries, then that's when things get bad, and that's when people start to like go off the deep end and really lose it, is when they let people in too much, and then they don't have any boundaries of their in space to themselves at all.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Like I don't really like have like a.
Well, I think there's like two ends of the spectrum there, where, you know, you're either super open and then don't have any of those boundaries and things can get really, really messy, or you're totally walls up and aren't really sharing anything and aren't really showing up as you. And I don't know, I guess I wonder if you ever feel like, you know, with talking about how you're struggling with like the showing up and being vulnerable and opening up and being more of like, you know, yourself, I guess, in some ways, letting people get to know you, you know, that part of that I feel like could be a boundary in terms of, you know, the public life, but that then maybe that almost kind of perpetuates that in your personal life.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like if that were it, then it'd be easier for me to like open up to people that are like my close friends, and I still kind of keep them in the dark. So I don't really know if it's that so much. Like, I don't really know. I don't know. Like, I know for me, like, boundaries as far as like the public eye go is like if I started dating somebody, I would not be plastering all over Instagram. Yeah. That's just not. I mean, like, you know, I'm not saying I wouldn't post about it ever, but it definitely like wouldn't be, I just wouldn't like share every single detail of that. Yeah. Like, it's not my thing. And then also like when it comes to my family, you know, like I'll share anything of my own or whatever, but I don't ever feel like it's my place to share their stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I definitely have boundaries when it comes to that as well. But other than that, like, I mean, I feel like, I don't know, like Instagram's like, you know, the tool to like show people your life or whatever. Yeah. But I do feel like on Instagram, like I feel like I do a pretty good job. I feel like my brand that I've built really is just like a lot of authenticity. Like I post content about my horses and like, I don't know, like my friends, like that. I mean, that for me is like, I post more about that kind of stuff than I do like clothes or anything else or music that would technically be my job. You know what I mean? And cause like, hopefully that sends the message that like, I don't find my identity in my job at all. I never have, and I never want to. Yeah. Like my identity is like in my people and my family and my friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm the same way.
Yeah. So like, hopefully I do a good job of that. Cause I try to make it a point too.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what about like boundaries in terms of vulnerability and personal life?
Yeah, I mean, clearly I have too many of them, right?
Yeah, it's like
I think I had too many boundaries there.
Opposite side there, yeah.
I know, yeah. I don't know, like I guess like there's no getting around it. Like somewhere deep down, I have to have some sort of definition of emotion being a negative thing. Yeah. Like somehow that's been ingrained in me that like, if you're emotional and crying and whatever, then that's weakness, and that's not necessarily true. Yeah. But somehow I've developed that definition. Yeah. You know what I mean? Over time. And I mean, it stems from, I'm sure it stems all the way back to my childhood.
Yeah. And I think part of that can also be like societal in some ways, you know? And people, absolutely. I think also do that in the smallest ways that they don't even, like, I remember, you know, my grandma when I was little and I would cry, you know, she'd be like, oh, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. Yeah. And it's like, I know she's doing it because she's trying to be helpful, you know, and I know she's trying to be soothing, and also because she's uncomfortable with it and doesn't know what to do. But at the same time, that is sending the message that like, I'm not supposed to be crying right now, but I'm feeling things. So how do I then actually process that, you know? So yeah, I'm sure that there's childhood messages there that were sent. And yeah, I'm guessing you're like, you take on a lot of other people's things. And so then I wonder how you like give yourself the space to like take on your things.
Yeah. That's a good point.
You mentioned the crazy busy thing.
Which is like the best way to distract yourself from your problems, you know? Yep. And it's funny because I recognize that so much in my mom. She keeps herself so busy. She hates having nothing to do. Yeah. The reason she loves California is because it's so fast paced. She hates Tennessee because it slows her down and she's bored and whatever, but it gives her zero time to process anything. And I've always been like, oh, hey, I don't want to be like that. But now I'm 31 years old and I'm exactly like that. You know what I mean? And I have to be very conscious of like telling myself to slow down. And you know, to take steps to like retract all that because it's so easy to do.
And honestly, it's like very societally acceptable.
You know, like, especially like on social media, it's like, ooh, the busier you are, the better you're doing. You know what I mean? Which isn't necessarily true ever at all, but it can look that way for sure. Yeah.
And I mean, we just in the last episode, Kit and I were talking about it, the different vulnerability armors that Brandi Brown discusses in her book, Daring Greatly. And in one of them, you know, it's like foreboding joy, numbing, perfectionism. And in the numbing, a lot of it is we can see in terms of the crazy busy piece, you know, that like you're so busy, you're so busy, you're so busy. But yeah, it doesn't give you the time to actually face the shit that's happening. And then once you start to sit with that, it feels really uncomfortable and you can start getting a lot of anxiety. And then you're just like, I need to distract myself somehow, some way. And so I think that's like wonderful that you're able to like see that and be like, okay, I like I need a second.
Yeah.
I need to give myself a second. You owe it to yourself to give yourself a second.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've also gotten to a point too where I'm like, there's no way forward here without taking lots of steps backwards. Yeah. And if I want to, I can stay stuck right where I'm at for the rest of my life. And that's just going to be the way it is.
Yeah.
Or I can decide to do the hard stuff and backtrack and really go through whatever in my past has like created all of this in me that I want to change or want to improve on or whatever you want to call it. And to me, it's just like a matter of like making that decision and just doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
And it sounds like you kind of are.
I'm like at the door. I haven't opened the door yet, but I'm at the door. I know what it is. I know, you know, I'm definitely like on the track that I need to be on to do it. I just like, I feel like I almost need to like go on a retreat somewhere, ditch the phone for like a whole week and really just dive into it to really do it right. And so like when I don't know when I'm going to get to a place where I feel like I'm ready to do that, but like I definitely feel like it's not far off.
Yeah.
You know?
And so then I'm curious, you know, what your background or experience is with therapy. Is that something that you've like done before?
I went as a kid. My parents made us all go, which I think is great.
Yeah.
I haven't been in a while. I haven't been to therapy in a while. I'm really, really, really close with my pastor in Nashville, the church I've gone to for like 15 years or something crazy. And I don't go to church as much as I wish I did anymore, but I'm still super close with him and his wife.
Yeah.
And so even though it's not technically therapy, it's almost better than therapy because like they're like my second parents almost. Only they're like younger and cooler, but like don't tell Tish and BR I said that. But we do talk a lot. So I do get to like, at least, you know, get that out with them quite a bit.
That social support and social support's so huge in like personal development and dealing with any kind of diagnosis, like that is very, very important in our lives.
And especially for somebody that's like, you know, it's definitely easier to go to a stranger and spill your guts to a stranger. You know what I mean? Like it definitely is, but there's something to be said for having somebody, that like really like has been through things with you that like, I mean, this couple, like they've met every guy I've ever dated since I was 18 years old. You know what I mean? Like they definitely have some insight like a stranger wouldn't have. So, I'm like super thankful to have that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I like to read too. Like reading is therapy to me.
Okay.
Sometimes it's easier to like, I'm a very like visual person. So sometimes like seeing words like written down on paper that really hit home, like will hit me harder than like hearing it from somebody in a weird way.
Any books that you would like recommend for people?
I've actually posted about this one I'm reading right now. I'm trying to think of the girl's name. Oh, Bell Hooks is the author. It's called All About Love.
Okay.
And the title sounds like really shallow and like not that great, but it's really, really great. Like the first chapter alone kind of talks about how like as a generation, like we've somehow been molded to think that like that like love is like it's like a negative thing to need love, and we have this very twisted view of what it is, and it stems from your childhood and your adolescence and being taught subconsciously from everyone around you what love is, even though that's not the right definition of it, and like all this stuff. So it's really, really great. I would highly recommend that. And then I know I like keep talking about the Enneagram, but we can kind of explain what that is, I guess, for people that don't know. I feel like I should Google this. I'm like not telling you guys things that aren't true.
Yeah, I don't know like the exact definition for what the Enneagram is. I know Kit, I wish Kit was here to discuss this with us because he's done a lot of stuff with it. And he says I'm a 6 and I have to actually like take the quiz to figure out really what I am. But it's kind of like a more in-depth personality test. A little bit more in-depth than the Myers-Briggs.
Yeah, well, the Myers-Briggs, to me, it's just so vast. There's just so many things you can be in so many combinations. Like, the Enneagram narrows it down to 9 personality types.
Yeah. And it's a little bit more detailed.
It is. It is detailed, and there's a lot of different levels of it that you can totally get into. But I mean, it's like an ancient thing. Like, the first guy that like developed this or whatever. I'm talking like ancient Greek, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's been around for a really long time, and I'm sure it's evolved and, you know, stuff like that. But it's really cool. It breaks it down to these like 9 personality types, and it's this weird like not triad because it's more than 3, but like this weird like triangularly like symbol thing, and it's
like
kinda,
triangles on top of triangles.
Yeah, so each number is kind of connected to 2 other ones where like when you're in a healthy state, like, you know, that's your number. So like I'm a 9, but then when you're like in an unhealthy state, like you end up being a 3.
Yeah.
And then when you're, you know, like overly something else and you're a 6 or whatever. So like there's all these different depths to it. And it's pretty crazy how accurate it can be. Like everyone I know that's really taken the test right and studied it is like, holy crap, this has changed my life. Because it really makes you think about why you are the way you are, why you think the way you do, why you feel the way you do. I don't know. It's just really, really cool.
Yeah. What are the things you'd say that like you've learned and reflected on about yourself that maybe you hadn't actually processed before taking it?
Most of what we've talked about so far. And it's like a lot of it has stemmed from, a lot of that awareness has come from me like taking this test. And just because if nothing else, the test and the results I got from it have made me ask myself the tough questions that I otherwise wouldn't have asked. You know what I mean? So there's a book on, I'm going to Google it, the Enneagram that I just read. Sorry, I'm moving the mic and it's probably loud.
It's okay. Yeah. So what you're 9, which is peacemaker. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that you would have like picked that out just going through and looking at it? Like you would have identified as peacemaker?
Probably not. And I feel like it's funny. So Caitlin Bristow is another person, like one of my friends that has taken it and like she's obsessed with it, just as obsessed with it as I am. And she and I were talking the other day about how for whatever reason, when you read your type, like it's very easy to see the negatives about your type rather than the positives. And so it's easy to be like, oh, well, I wish I wasn't a 9. You know what I mean? Like she's a 4 and she was like, I don't want to be a 4. And I'm like, no, I wish I was a 4. And she's like, no, I wish I was a 9. So it's like easy to do that. So I don't know, like, I don't know if I would have picked that for myself. I think as a generation, like we want to be something other than what we are for some reason. It's just a very common thing that I think everybody can relate to. But, and like, so I've tried to like really like, it's easy to look at the negatives of my type and be like, oh, I'm emotionally unavailable. Oh, this, but like, I also need to like,
identify the positives.
The positives are that, like, you know, like you can be a good shoulder to cry on. You're people like have somebody to listen to in you, and like someone to guide them.
Empathetic.
Like, yeah, exactly. So like, there's a lot of positives to it too. I think it's important to like know that. But this book, so it's called The Sacred Enneagram. Christopher, yikes, I can't pronounce this. Heuertz.
Okay. It'll be in the episode notes description. Yeah, so you guys can check it out and try to pronounce it.
Yeah, so, it's really good. And in this book, it says like it's like, you know, you don't diagnose other people just because it's like wrong to tell somebody else what they are. Like they should discover it for themselves. And so I try not to do that to people because I feel like everybody should take the test and you know, and not like if you already know what the types are, you're going to pick an answer because you want to be a certain type. And I just like, I'm really against all that. So, that's
I looked at it and I was like, oh, the helper? Like, I'd be the helper,
like,
I think.
Like, I'm a helper. No, but I like, my challenge to you is to take this like 140 question test and see what you are because I'm so curious.
Yes. No, I want to.
It's funny. Like, I have a lot of friends that are 4s. Like, it's so interesting to see like there has to be something to this. If like you know what I mean? It's like, anything like that. Like zodiac signs, like I'm not saying I believe in like theology and all that kind of stuff, but there's something to say for the fact that I like most of my friends and relationships are like Tauruses and Sagittariuses. Like I gravitate towards those people and it can't be an accident that there's so many.
What's your sign?
I'm a Gemini.
Okay, yeah. I'm a Cancer, and almost everyone I've dated has been a Sagittarius or a Virgo.
So
and
funny.
So many of the like close people in my life are Sagittariuses and Geminis. My mom's Gemini.
Yep.
Yeah. Some of my closest friends are Geminis.
That's so funny. See, there's something, I'm telling you, there's something to it.
Yep. Everything's connected in the universe, and I feel like every opportunity and every interaction that we have is like an opportunity to like learn something about yourself. Like all these different relationships and connections are like there to teach you something. There's always something that you can take away from it and like reflect on. And it sounds like with doing the Enneagram that there's a lot that like you're able to take away and reflect on about yourself so that it sounds like you can show up as like a more open person in your relationship so that people are really actually getting to know you and to show up for you too, you know? I mean, with being a peacekeeper and with growing up being a caretaker, like, you're also worthy of receiving what you give to other people for yourself. Mm-hmm. Do you know that?
I'm working on it.
Do you believe that?
I'm working on it.
Yeah, I want you to believe that.
My like gut reaction is, but I don't need it. But like, it's okay to need it, Brandi. Like, you know, I'm like working on it. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Because you can't, like, you're not a robot. You know, you can't be just everything for everyone else.
I could be a robot if someone needed me to be.
But would they really? Would they really?
I don't know. No.
Would they be
Nobody
okay without
needs a robot, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, have you reflected at all on like what purpose it serves for you?
I'm a robot that needs 8 hours of sleep minimum. No,
me too.
Sorry, ask me that again.
If you feel like, what was it?
Sorry, I got stuck on the whole. I need sleep. I'm not a robot. I also need coffee. Like, those are two vitally important things for this robot. Sleep, coffee, in that order.
Oh, what purpose those things serve for you? Like, I think that's always important to ask. Like, you know, okay, this is the way I'm a caretaker. I'm always going to be there for someone. I'll be a robot if someone needs me to be. Mm-hmm. What is that? What purpose is that serving for you? What do you get out of that?
It makes me feel good, I guess. Mm-hmm. When it comes right now, it's like the simplest way to say it is, like I find that in not satisfaction. What's the word I'm looking for? Fulfillment, maybe a little bit. When I can like be that for somebody.
Yeah, that perhaps that's a sense of worth.
Yeah,
stemming from that.
Totally.
That's in a way. The purpose in it is kind of like your purpose in a way. Mm-hmm. And then I guess another question that I think it's important to ask is like, what would you be without that? If you weren't doing that.
Sad.
If you weren't doing that,
Probably.
You know, if you weren't the robot for someone else, like, what would that mean to you?
I don't know.
Who would you be without that?
I guess just like the crazy horse girl that just like watches Grey's Anatomy all the time.
The most authentic version of yourself.
I know when somebody ever like asks me like, hey, we need your bio. I'm like, just put crazy horse girl. Cause like, that's it. I don't know who like DJs on the side. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I think, and not necessarily that like you have to totally rid that caretaker part of yourself. You know, I think, like you said, not only you read the positives and see the negatives, but you also see the positives, you know, and I think there are ways that you can incorporate those positives to still be fulfilling some kind of a purpose, but maybe not so much to that extent, because at that extent, people aren't able to get to know you.
Right. Yeah.
And you're very worthy of that. And I'm sure you bring wonderful things to the table.
Yeah.
I mean, what things do you feel like you would maybe hold back in a relationship, or maybe that like you don't really let people get to see or know about you, like those things that maybe are a little bit more vulnerable that like you want to work on being more open about? I know we talked about like the feelings part a little bit, like maybe it's a little bit more of the crazy horse girl thing. I don't know.
Like I'm pretty weird, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know like if that's it. Like I don't know like if that's the kind of stuff that I don't show people. I don't know. I also think too, like it's hard to just talk about it in like a boyfriend type relationship, because
it's in all the relationships.
Because I feel like when you're just talking about like a boyfriend, like for me anyway, it's like a whole nother set of my issues, which I actually want to write an entire book on someday. Yeah, is how like I feel like I've been labeled this, but I feel like I've allowed myself to be labeled this because somewhere along the way I wanted to be this, but I feel like I have always been the cool girl, the quote unquote cool girl.
Oh yeah. You know, I mean, not to be like totally off topic here, but what always makes me feel like I'm a cool girl is getting my FabFitFun boxes in the mail, because let me tell you, there's no like more exciting feeling than like, oh my God, my FabFitFun package is here and I cannot wait to see what's in my box. And right now, actually, their Summer's Editor's box is now available. For those of you guys that don't know what FabFitFun is, it's a seasonal subscription box for women, and they have all kinds of full-size products in them. You can get it delivered 4 times a year for just $49.99 a box. And the Editor's box is actually like a fun special box, which makes me feel even extra cool. It's like the box that comes in between the seasonal boxes with new items and also favorite items from past boxes. And getting this box felt like Christmas, partially because I had one of my favorite products from a past box, which is the Ahava mineral hand cream. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it is the like bombest hand cream I've ever tried. And I wouldn't have found it without FabFitFun. And of course, you guys, I also want you guys to feel like super cool girls, cool guys, you know. You guys can actually get the FabFitFun Summers box, and you can sign up today. You can use my code Taylor and get $10 off your first box. So head on over to fabfitfun.com to sign up and start getting the box for a life well lived. Use promo code Taylor to get $10 off your first box. And honestly, guys, that's $200, over $200 worth of items for only $39.99. So go to fabfitfun.com and use my code Taylor and get $10 off your first box. So that's how I feel like a cool girl, but I want to get back to how you feel like a cool girl, Brandi.
And cool girl is, you know, all the guys say they want cool girl. They want the girl that's going to like watch sports with them and their boys and like let them go out and not be clingy and needy and not be an emotional psychopath like all the other girls. But really, all the guys I know end up with the emotional basket case women that have them on like collars and leashes. Yeah. So like being cool girl really doesn't pay off. And somehow like, I'm cool girl, and I don't think I should have spent the past 30 years trying to be something else, maybe, because it's not paid off so far. So I feel like when you're talking about that, like I feel like a lot of my other issues stem from just I play it too cool. I don't know, like I try to be so low maintenance and so cool, like to a fault.
Well, you're neglecting your actual needs.
Yeah, to the point where like I don't even know what they are because I've just never allowed myself to have them.
Yeah. You know? Well, you've never vocalized them because you thought you'd be a burden and then they wouldn't like you anymore.
So like, I don't know, like I sit here and think like, okay, like, so like affection, like I'm not like a big affection person, but like I say that and I don't think I like it, but like maybe I would if I tried it. I don't know. Like hand holding in public and stuff. Like I don't like that. But I've also like, maybe if I just like gave it a shot, maybe I would like it.
What part of it do you not like?
I don't know. It just seems like people do that for other people. You know? Like, I'm going to, like, hold my girlfriend's hand in public so everyone knows, like, she's mine. And I have a girlfriend. I'm like, why you got to do that?
I could see that. And I could see where in some cases that is the way I would see it. And even, I mean, for me... But what I see like that 100% of the time is same side seating.
Yeah, every now and then's fine.
I'm not a fan of same side seating. It makes me
side seating.
Yeah,
somebody like else just asked about this the other day. Oh, I saw Becca do it with Allie on her Instagram. Same side seating. Yeah, it's a little much.
Yeah, if a guy wants the same side seat with me, like early on in their relationship, I'm like, what do you?
But if you're eating with someone, don't you want to look at them?
Yeah, and it's also like you can't just sit right across from me. Like we can still have a conversation. Like that just feels
I don't know. I guess like in my mind, like there's an insecurity in that need to like be that close to somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know. So like whatever. But like maybe I don't know. Maybe it feels good to be that close to somebody. I don't know.
But I think maybe on a deeper level, the whole affection thing could be you just not wanting to seem clingy and not wanting to 100%. Seem needy.
1,000%.
And so not being vulnerable and not putting yourself out there in that way because then you're not 100%. Girl.
You're right on target there. Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I so see that. Like now that you identify it as like, yeah, like you totally are like cool girl.
I know.
And
I'm too cool. I gotta like
too cool for school.
Nerd it up a little more. I gotta like be a little bit of a psycho, I think.
Well, and you know, I think it's interesting because where that message is even played out for us, because I've heard the same thing. And there are definitely ways that like I portray that in myself as well. But it's also because then we're told that even, you know, when I think back to guys who've told me about ex-girlfriends, whatever, you know, all this stuff, she's an emotional psychopath, like all this stuff's like, no, she was actually just experiencing her feelings and you didn't know how to deal with it. So you're making her seem like she's...
It's so easy for a guy to use that as an out. Like, oh, well, she's emotionally crazy. Like,
yeah, well, and even girls, for guys even, of being like, oh, he was just so crazy. Like, no, he was actually just being vulnerable and sharing his emotions with you, and it made you uncomfortable and you didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, so it's become very taboo almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a very unattractive thing to do in dating, to show your emotions and to actually
but like real. This book, All About Love, it sounds so cheesy. It's actually really good. It like addresses that, and it's like, but if you don't emotionally show up, then the relationship can't actually exist. It's not going to last. You know what I mean? So the thing that's become so taboo is actually the thing that gets us what we really want, which is love. You know what I mean? We're like doomed. Like so, our like generation's doomed. I think
there is some hope. So how do you then move forward with like transitioning maybe from less of cool girl with boundaries and guards up and like, you know, showing maybe a little bit more of that? Like what do you think kind of is a little bit of the process there? I mean, even I think in showing up without boyfriends and dating even specifically, like,
I mean, I think for me as of right now, it's just kind of like, I think being like more vocal about my feelings, positive or negative, about anything. You know, like if let's pretend for a second, like we were going to talk about going to see a movie, right? And I was like, yeah, I really want to see Ready Player One. And you were like,
I don't want to see that.
I want to see Deadpool 2. I'd be like, yeah, like Deadpool 2 looks good too. Like, I think I need to be like, no, I've been wanting to see Ready Player One, and like, we're gonna freaking go see Ready Player One. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that was like dramatic, but I just think like taking a stand for like what I actually want or how I actually feel is kind of like probably the first step in that or whatever.
Actually speaking up for yourself.
Yeah, because I don't. I just like internalize everything, so...
And this, I so badly wish Kit was here for this conversation. We'll hang out with Kit and we'll have some talks with Kit while you're here. And in that, in like practicing really speaking up for yourself, a lot of the work that like he and I have done and talking about this for him and his process is getting back in touch with like his inner child, little baby Kit.
Yep.
And so I wonder for you where like inner child Brandi, like, was she heard? Did she speak her mind?
Yeah, no.
When she did speak her mind, what was she told about that?
I feel like usually, like, not that I got in trouble, really. But I feel like it was almost like, there were so many of us that it's like, whoever speaks up and like is a pain in the butt gets like dismissed. You know what I mean? It's not even like the loudest, because like, Lord no, like Miley's like the loudest human being on earth, and she always has been. And I feel like she's like her and I guess know him a little bit, but like really Miley like has just always loved attention and loved performing and wanted to be making people laugh and like whatever. And I'm so not that, you know what I mean? But I do feel like, I don't know, like I was always expected to make straight A's, and I like my mom even to this day is like, yeah, Brandi was like the one good child, like one the most well behaved or whatever. Like that's just kind of always been like what's expected of me. Yeah, so it's just like I don't know, like I somehow just like took on that role when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like she literally said, yeah, like when she had me at 20, right? So she's like, yeah, I used to take you to the mall for like 10 hours, and you like didn't cry at all. You were such a good baby. Like it's literally been like my label since I was freaking newborn. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't know.
And now it's kind of recreating that and like how you actually do feel and where you actually want to go and who you actually want to be.
Yeah. And like coming in terms of the fact that like, you know, someone's not gonna not like me because I have an opinion about that. You know what I mean? Because I think that's probably like the inner fear is, oh, well, if I, you know, make somebody upset, like they're not going to be my friend anymore, or they're not going to want to hang out with me, or they're not going to want to be with me, or whatever it is. It's like, that's not necessarily true.
Yes.
Hence the whole guys pick psychopath girls to marry. Like I think they actually like that.
We keep it interesting. Yeah. I think I'm glad that you brought up the fears piece, because that was kind of where I wanted to go a little bit, was like, you know, with having these boundaries and with kind of creating this new like box for yourself of like those fears that need to be addressed, you know? And I think kind of what you said, you know, someone's not going to like you just because you express your opinion on something. But even if that is the case, I mean, the fear is that then they're not going to like you. And
Oh yeah, and I'm a people
that might
pleaser
be the case.
through.
And what if someone doesn't like you?
Yeah, like in high school, I was the girl that was friends with all the groups. You know what I mean? Like I liked
the cool girl that could go with
exactly,
all the groups
that like everybody's down with. Yeah, that's all. Like absolutely. So definitely like not being liked feels like very uncomfortable to me. Yeah, for sure.
That was something. I mean, I tried to process in grad school a bit. Was like, I really wanted, like, I thought I was very open and like, you know, I really want people to like me. You know, like that means a lot to me to be able to have good connections with people. And then I reached a point where I was like, you know, actually, like there's a lot of people that I don't like, and like that's okay. Like I don't think that they're bad people, but I just don't like them, and like that is okay for people to not like me. Yeah. And then going on the show is a whole different thing. And I was like, oh dear Lord. But
I mean, I feel like that show like really, like, what a mirror for you to be able to see. You know what I mean? Like see things you would have never seen before.
Yes, and brings out things in you that you would have never have thought you'd even have to like process. Yeah. But a big one of those too is like, like it is okay for people not to like you, but also to know that people may not like you, but they also may not be seeing the whole you.
Right. But see, like I've thought about this. Like if I ever went on that show, I couldn't do it because undoubtedly people, I always say people love to hate a Cyrus. Like people love to find reasons to not like my sister and my family and me and like all of us. Like, you know what I mean? But like, I feel like if I went on that show and like people like didn't like me, it would destroy me. Like I could never go on it for that sole purpose.
But you also have this sense that like you can just be totally alone and like you're cool and you don't need it.
Yeah.
But also like I really want to please everyone.
Yeah.
And people should like me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you think of a time when like someone really didn't like you and someone thought you were like how you handled that?
Trying to think.
Because that's like hard.
Yeah. The one person I can think of, I can't exactly say her name on here.
You don't have to say names. But like how you processed now knowing that like you weren't going to be able to please this person. You weren't going to be able to be that cool girl with this person.
Right. Yeah. It didn't go well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you feel like that said about you?
I don't know. This is a hard situation, I guess, to like talk about without talking about it.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of something different now.
Well, I think just maybe in the future when something like that comes up and you have to kind of process, you know, the fact that you are a people pleaser and that, you know, you have the boundaries up, not really letting people really get to know you, and that if someone doesn't like you, you know, what messages are you telling yourself?
Yeah, maybe, I guess like in a way, like I kind of feel responsible then for them having negative feelings in a weird way. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
That then you almost want to like help fix their negative feelings that now they have.
Exactly.
Because of you. And that's your fault. Now you have to fix it.
Exactly. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. If you could come up with like 3 things you owe it to yourself too, what?
Have feelings, I guess. Is that one?
Yeah.
Does that make
totally
sense?
One.
Is that what we're talking about? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah. Like in terms of all of this, like these reflections you're doing and
I would say like have feelings. It's okay to say no to things. I'm such a yes person.
I owe it to myself to say no.
Yeah, like I'll overwork myself to death because I won't say no to anything. And I think too that plays into a little bit like I think it's important, and I'm trying to get there to like have some standards for yourself, right? Yeah. So like it's okay to say no to something if you think you're better than that. Like because obviously that sounds awful to be like, well, I'm better than that, and to me that's such a negative thing. But like it's actually not. Sometimes it's important to realize like you can say no to that. Like you're above that. It's okay. You know what I mean? So that's definitely one. I don't know. And I guess too, like, I guess the third one would be just off this whole cool girl thing. Like, it's okay to like be a little crazy if I decide I want to be a little crazy from here on out. You know what I mean?
It's okay to be real.
Yeah. I think, does that mean like girls are crazy though?
Means
maybe we are. Maybe we just need to own it.
It's not just girls. Guys have their things too,
like,
you know?
I have so many guy friends, and like all you hear them say is like, yeah, that girl's crazy. So like if I act crazy even a little bit, I'm officially one of them. That's scary.
That's a whole dynamic that I want so badly to work to help shift, because that's so detrimental to A, the connections that we have with each other, and B, like, especially as women, how we go about like processing our shit.
100%.
Because it goes back like in history to us being these like hysterical women that like need to be put away during our menstrual cycle because we're just so crazy. Like it's ridiculous. And I think the more that we can all kind of learn to like be a little bit more in touch with our emotions and to communicate better with each other and to understand that like we're all just people and we're all going to feel these weird things at times, but like that doesn't mean that you're batshit like at all.
Right.
Like it just means you're a freaking person and you're allowed to feel those things, and someone can handle it however they want to handle it. That's fine. You don't have control over that, you know, but like you do have control over how you're going to react and how you're going to process and what you're going to do, and to like feel empowered in being able to do that. And I hope that you feel like empowered in this process and like that you feel supported going through and doing this stuff, because I mean, oftentimes it takes like a really big thing to happen in your life, like a significant event to like actually take a look at some of these things. And so I think it takes a lot of courage, and I think you should definitely feel proud of yourself. And if you don't, I feel proud of you. And I'm sure there are many other people who do. Because it's hard work.
Yeah. And going back to like feeling empowered thing, I definitely think like it's important probably for everybody to like hear this too, is like, and for me to hear it and know it, is like, I do feel empowered by all of it, just because just purely for the realization of the fact that I am in control of whether I stay stagnant or move forward. You know what I mean? Like, working on all of this, like it's not up to the universe for this to happen to me. Like it's up to me to like do the work, like emotionally and mentally and spiritually to make this change or to like grow or like whatever you want to call it. And like I'm the only one that can do it. You know what I mean? Like no one's gonna fix it for me. Time's not gonna heal it. Like you got to just do it, and it's in your power to do it. So as a control freak, that's comforting.
Yeah. And also, I mean, to know that you're capable of it.
Yeah.
Like the fact, not just that, you know, you can, but like you really can actually. Like you're so capable. And I think it's so important to remember like that we're so resilient. We're such resilient creatures.
Yeah.
And I feel you on the control freak thing. Like it is, to me, it's very empowering to do that kind of work, because it's like, I'm in control and I'm doing this for me. And that feels good. Yeah. To know that I'm like growing in different ways, and that I have the support, that I'm communicating these experiences and this whole process with the people in my life, because it only like nourishes the experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This nourished my experience.
Almost as much as that biscuit I had this morning.
It was delicious. Highly recommend Citizen Cafe on
I'm going to
Taylor
go
Ave.
every single day until I leave.
Yes. Anyone that visits Seattle, everyone always asks me for recommendations, and definitely recommend Citizen.
Super good.
It's a great little spot. We'll be back there. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
How long did we talk for?
An hour.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Good old hour. I hope it really just tickled your ears, everyone.
Yeah.
And just that you enjoyed it all. Yes. But thank you so much for being vulnerable and open and honest with me and with sharing that. And I think there's a lot that people can reflect on from all of this. If people want to find you, like the pod is Your Favorite Things.
Your Favorite Thing podcast. It's on iTunes. Co-hosted with Wells Adams, the one and only.
Good old Wells.
Good old Wells. Yep. And then I'm on Insta at Brandi Cyrus. It's Brandi with an I.
Boom.
That's kind of it.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for my IGTV channel. And Taylor's cat channel.
Yep.
Coming at you.
Good old cat channel. And yeah, we'll put the description notes, the resources for some of the books that you mentioned, so you guys can check that stuff out. And yeah, you guys thanks for tuning into this episode. And I love reading the reviews from you guys on iTunes. So definitely head on over there and shoot me a review and let me know what you guys are liking about the episode. And you can also send topic suggestions and things that you're struggling with and questions that you want us to discuss on the pod to ask.letstalkaboutit@gmail.com. And you can also find us on Instagram at Let's Talk About It _podcast. Thanks so much. Talk to you guys next time.
This podcast is brought to you by Wave Podcast Network. Check out all of our shows, including the Brain Candy Podcast, I Don't Get It, Babes and Babies, Coffee Convos, and Let's Talk About It.